Here's the answer before the story begins, because it is the point of this entire video. Trying to look rich before you are financially free quietly costs you the one thing you actually want: freedom. Your lifestyle starts growing faster than your assets. Your income rises, but your saving rate falls. Your fixed costs get heavier, and your paycheck stops buying options and starts maintaining an image. Here is what that looks like in ordinary numbers. A 25-year-old earning $6,000 a month after tax can quietly add around $2,090 a month in rent, upgrades, a car payment, restaurants, clothes, subscriptions, and status spending. That is $25,080 a year that no longer builds wealth. Over 10 years, that is $250,800 of cash flow gone. And if it had been invested at a 7% annual return instead, it could have grown to roughly $361,000. That is the real price of looking successful too early. This is not some rare extreme problem. It is becoming one of the most common financial traps in modern life. In March of 2026, the Bureau of Economic Analysis reported that the U.S. personal saving rate had fallen to 3.6%, against a long-run average since 1959 of about 8.4%, meaning Americans today save less than half of what they historically have. And income does not save you from it. A PMS intelligence report found that 48% of consumers earning over $100,000 a year were still living paycheck to paycheck, and Fidelity reported in early 2026 that more than 19% of workers had an outstanding loan against their own 401k. So no, this is not just a math problem, it is a money psychology problem. Lifestyle inflation is when your spending rises automatically as your income rises, so a bigger paycheck never creates more freedom. The status trap is when you spend money not because something improves your life, but because it improves how your life appears to other people. Financial freedom begins when your money gives you options instead of forcing you to maintain an image. So let's follow one ordinary life. Not a billionaire, not a genius investor, just a normal young professional named Alex, 25 years old, making good money for the first time and trying to figure out what success is supposed to look like. At 25, Alex gets his first real paycheck. Not the kind that makes him rich, but enough to change how he sees himself. After taxes, he takes home about $6,000 a month. For the first time in his life, money does not feel like survival. It feels like permission. Permission to eat somewhere nicer. Permission to replace the old phone. Permission to finally look like someone whose life is going somewhere. At first, none of this feels dangerous. It feels deserved. He worked hard. He watched other people enjoy things while he told himself someday. So when the money starts coming in, spending feels less like weakness and more like proof. Proof that the struggle meant something. Proof that he is not the guy who checks his account before ordering dinner. That is exactly where the trap begins. Not with stupidity, not with greed. It begins with a sentence that sounds completely reasonable. I finally deserve this. A better apartment, I deserve this. A newer car, I deserve this. Sometimes he really does deserve comfort. The problem was never the purchase. The problem is what it slowly starts to mean. The jacket is not just a jacket anymore. It is proof that he is no longer struggling. The phone is not just a phone. It is evidence that his life has upgraded. This is the part the spreadsheets never explain. People rarely overspend because they are only buying objects. They overspend because they are buying feelings. Relief, confidence, status. A break from the fear that life is moving faster for everyone else. That is why personal finance is never only about numbers. On paper, the rules sound simple. Spend less than you earn, save consistently, invest for the long term. But in real life, money is tied to shame, pride, comparison, ambition, and the quiet need to feel respected. A few months pass and Alex's life genuinely looks better. People start noticing and that attention feels good. Not because he is shallow, but because for most of his life he felt invisible. Now people see progress, and progress can become addictive. So he upgrades again. His rent goes from $1,500 to $2,200 because the new place feels more grown up. Then he gets a car with a $650 monthly payment because his old one made him feel embarrassed in the parking lot at work. He adds another $450 a month in restaurants and social plans, and another $290 in clothes, a phone upgrade, and subscriptions. None of those numbers feels crazy by itself. That is why the trap is so easy to miss. But together, they add up to $2,090 a month. On a $6,000 after-tax income, almost 35% of his take-home pay is now going to lifestyle upgrades that did not exist a year ago. At first, the upgrades feel like rewards. Then the reward becomes the baseline. The first expensive dinner feels exciting. The 10th feels normal. The new car feels like success for a few weeks. Then it becomes transportation with a payment attached. This is lifestyle inflation. And it does not feel like a mistake because it arrives dressed up as progress. It whispers, "You are doing better now, so your life should look better now." There's nothing wrong with comfort. The danger begins when your lifestyle rises faster than your assets, because every upgrade has two prices. The visible price is the monthly payment. The invisible price is the option you quietly give up, the option to save, the option to invest, the option to leave a job that is draining you, the option to take a lower-paying job that gives you your health back, the option to start something of your own, the option to move to rest, to take a risk, or simply to say no. A higher lifestyle does not just cost money. It costs flexibility. And flexibility is the first form of financial freedom. Think about what a fixed expense really is. It is any bill your future self is forced to pay before that future self even gets to make a choice. Rent, car payments, insurance, subscriptions, credit card minimums. One by one, they look normal. Together, they decide how much of your paycheck is already gone before the month begins. That is why two people with the same income can live completely different lives. One keeps $1,500 of real choice. Another keeps only $350. The income is identical. The freedom is not even close. But Alex does not see that yet. All he sees is that his life finally looks like the life he always thought he was supposed to have. Then the trap gets deeper. He stops spending only for comfort and starts spending for comparison. The question changes from, does this make my life better, to what will people think if I do not have this? A friend buys a new car. Someone from college posts vacation photos from Italy. Someone younger than him somehow seems to be doing better. Even when Alex knows social media is not the full truth, his nervous system still treats it like hard evidence that other people are ahead and that he is late. So he starts making financial decisions from pressure instead of peace. And pressure is one of the worst financial advisors on the planet. It does not care about your saving rate, your net worth, or whether a purchase fits your future. Pressure wants one thing: immediate relief from feeling behind. That is the status trap. You spend not because something genuinely improves your life, but because it improves how your life looks to other people. The reward is real but temporary. Someone compliments the car, and for one day, he feels successful. Someone likes the photo, and for 10 seconds, he feels validated. Then the feeling fades, but the payment stays, the debt stays, the higher baseline stays. Now his financial life has a new expense. Not housing, not food, status. A hidden tax he pays every month just to avoid looking less successful than the people around him. And remember, Alex is not alone in this. Those numbers from the start, the low saving rate, the six-figure earners living paycheck to paycheck, and the workers borrowing against retirement accounts are what this pattern looks like in real life. More income does not automatically create more security. If your behavior rises to meet every raise, a higher paycheck only funds a more expensive cage. By 29, Alex earns more than he ever has. From the outside, his life looks good. If you saw him from a distance, you would assume he is doing well. But inside his bank account, the story is different. Most of his income already has a destination before the month even begins. Rent, car payment, insurance, subscriptions, credit card minimums, restaurants, clothes, delivery. Things that used to be optional are now built into the structure of his life. Before all the upgrades, Alex was saving around $1,500 a month. After them, his savings fall to about $350 a rate that drops from 25% to under 6%. Nothing about his life looks like a crisis, but the foundation underneath it is much weaker. He is not broke. He is one bad month away from panic. That is the strange middle-class version of financial anxiety, making enough money to look fine, but not enough progress to feel safe. This is where he starts to feel the cage. Not a dramatic cage, a monthly one. The kind where nothing looks wrong from the outside, but every decision feels heavier than it should. He wants to leave his job, but his rent says no. He wants to start a business, but his credit card balance says no. He wants to take a break, but his lifestyle says no. That is the invisible trade he made without realizing it. When you build a life that requires a high monthly income just to maintain income, stops feeling like freedom and starts feeling like oxygen. You need it constantly without interruption. You become more afraid of risk, more afraid of change, more afraid of losing status, and more afraid of looking like you are going backward. Because looking rich can quietly make you fragile. The more expensive your life is to maintain, the less room you have for mistakes. One layoff, one medical bill, one family emergency, one bad month. Suddenly, the life that looked impressive starts feeling unstable. The painful part is that Alex is not poor. He is overcommitted. Being poor means you do not have enough resources. Being overcommitted means you do have resources, but they are already owned by your lifestyle. And that is dangerous because from the outside, it looks exactly like success. One night, Alex comes home late. The apartment is quiet. The place still looks nice. The car is still downstairs. The clothes are still in the closet. Nothing has visibly fallen apart. But something inside him feels heavy. He sits on the edge of the bed and opens his banking app. Normally, he checks the balance fast and closes it before the truth can settle in. But this time, he actually looks. Income came in. Money went out. Again. Another month passed. Again. Almost nothing changed. He scrolls back through the transactions. Restaurant, car payment, subscription, credit card, another restaurant, another delivery order. Another small purchase that seemed harmless in the moment. Every one of them seemed small enough to justify. But together they tell the truth he has been avoiding. He is not building wealth, he is maintaining a version of himself. That sentence hits harder than the balance because it exposes the difference between motion and progress. Motion is being busy, earning more, buying more, upgrading more, and looking better from the outside. Progress is actually becoming safer, calmer, more flexible, and less dependent on every paycheck being perfect. Alex had motion. He had proof that his life looked better. He had evidence that other people saw him differently, but he did not have the thing he thought all of this was supposed to buy: peace. For the first time, he feels the emotional cost of the image. He thinks about the late nights, the stress, the mornings when he woke up already tired, the extra hours at a job he wanted to leave. Then he looks at what that work actually bought. Some of it bought comfort. Some of it bought connection. Some of it bought convenience. But a big part of it bought applause that disappeared almost as soon as it arrived. And that is a hard thing to admit because it means the problem was not just the price of the apartment or the car payment. The deeper problem was that his life had started to serve an audience. People who did not pay his bills had quietly become part of his financial decision-making. Strangers, coworkers, old friends, people scrolling past a photo for 2 seconds, all of them had been given a vote in how he used his money. That is the moment the story changes. Not because he suddenly hates nice things, but because he can finally see the trade clearly. His life looks better than his balance sheet. Other people may think he is doing well, but he does not feel well. His image has been growing faster than his freedom. So now he has a choice. He can keep going and call it normal. Everyone has payments. Everyone has debt. Everyone is stressed. Everyone is just trying to keep up. Or he can ask a much harder question. What if the goal was never to look successful? What if the goal is to actually become free? That one question changes the direction of his life. The moment he stops asking, how do I look, he can finally start asking, what do I actually want my money to do for me? The reset is not dramatic. He does not sell everything and disappear into the mountains. Real change is almost always quieter than that. First, he separates comfort from performance. Comfort is spending that genuinely improves his life. Performance is spending designed to make other people believe his life has improved. That one distinction becomes his new filter. The car works, but maybe it was bought more for approval than transportation. The apartment is comfortable, but maybe it does not need to be a symbol. The clothes sometimes build confidence, but sometimes they are costumes for a character he is tired of playing. The restaurants are sometimes real connection, but sometimes they are just the fear of saying no. He does not cut everything because that never lasts. He cuts the spending that was never really for him. Over the next 6 months, he lowers his fixed expenses. He does not renew one expensive lease. He sells the car and replaces it with something reliable and boring. He cancels unused subscriptions. He keeps one or two things he genuinely loves, but removes the spending that only existed to protect his ego. His monthly spending falls from about $5,650 to $4,450. His savings climb from $350 a month back up to $1,550, a rate of almost 26%. That $1,200 difference every month changes the trajectory of his life. Over 1 year, it creates $14,400 of extra breathing room. And if that $1,550 a month is invested for 10 years at a 7% return, it could grow to roughly $268,000. That is why opportunity cost matters. A payment is never just a payment. It is also the savings growth time, calm, and flexibility that money can now never create. Every dollar used to protect an image is a dollar that cannot protect your future. Every monthly payment you lock in is a small promise your future self has to keep, whether that future self still wants the lifestyle or not. But here's the part nobody warned you about. At first, the new life feels smaller. When you stop performing success, some people will quietly assume you are falling behind. Friends still want the expensive weekends. Social media still shows the vacations, the cars, the restaurants, the upgrades. And even when Alex knows better, there are moments when he wonders if he is making a mistake. That is the psychological test. The test is surviving the silence after you stop trying to impress people. For a while, the results are invisible. Nobody sees the debt going down. Nobody sees the emergency fund growing. Nobody sees the options being built one boring month at a time. Nobody sees that his anxiety is getting quieter. There is no applause for the car he did not buy. There is no social reward for the lease he did not renew. There is no viral moment for the Friday night he stayed home, cooked dinner, and transferred money into an investment account. From the outside, it can look like nothing is happening. But inside his life, everything is slowly becoming less fragile. This is exactly where most people quit. Not because the math is hard. The math is easy. They quit because the silence is hard. The hardest part of building wealth quietly is surviving the years when it looks like absolutely nothing is happening. That is why money psychology matters more than money math. Personal finance is not just knowing what to do. It is becoming emotionally strong enough to keep doing it when no one is applauding. It is being misunderstood for a while so your future self can breathe. And slowly, Alex's relationship with money changes. He stops seeing it as only something to spend and starts seeing it as stored choice. A month of expenses saved is a month he does not have to panic. A lower car payment is less pressure at work. An investment account is not just a number on a screen. It is future permission. Money becomes less about proving who he is and more about protecting how he wants to live. A few years later, the outside of his life may not look dramatically different. He may not have the flashiest car. He may not post the biggest vacations. But something fundamental has changed underneath it. His life feels lighter. He has an emergency fund. He has fewer payments. He has investments growing quietly in the background. He has far more control over his own time. He is not financially free in the billionaire sense, but he is meaningfully freer than he used to be. Because financial freedom usually arrives in layers. First, you stop panicking before payday. Then you stop depending on credit cards for normal life. Then you stop needing every paycheck to be perfect. Then you stop saying yes to things you cannot afford. And then one day, almost without noticing, you realize you have options. And options change a person. You speak differently. You choose differently. You tolerate less. You rush less. You need less validation from strangers. That is the actual reward. Not looking rich, not impressing people who are not paying your bills. The reward is moving through your one life with a lot less fear. This is where Alex finally understands the lesson he needed years earlier. Looking rich gives you attention. Becoming free gives you peace. Attention is expensive. Peace is priceless. The deeper truth is that most people do not actually want luxury as much as they want relief. Relief from feeling behind, relief from feeling ordinary, relief from feeling judged, relief from feeling like their life does not look impressive enough. So they buy symbols, but symbols are weak medicine. They work for a moment and then the insecurity comes right back and asks for another purchase. That is how the loop works. You feel behind, so you spend. You look better, but you save less. Because you save less, you feel less secure. So you need more validation. So you spend again. The way out is not shame, it is awareness. You do not escape the status trap by hating nice things. You escape it by understanding why you want them. Do you want the thing because it serves your life or because it protects your ego? Do you want the upgrade because it creates real value or because it hides an insecurity? Do you want the lifestyle because it makes your life better or because it makes your life easier to display? Those questions are uncomfortable, but they hand you back control. And control is the real beginning of financial freedom. The ability to pause, the ability to choose, the ability to say, I can afford this, but I do not need it. I want comfort, but I want freedom more. So what happens if you try to look rich before you are free? Your lifestyle grows before your assets do. Your image becomes more expensive than your future. And little by little, payment by payment, you trade away your options for appearances. The real difference between looking rich and becoming free is this. Looking rich increases your visible status, but becoming free increases your invisible options. One path makes other people react. The other gives your future self room to breathe. But the opposite path is possible. You can build quietly. You can let your life look ordinary while your net worth grows in private. You can buy back your own time before you buy symbols of status. The goal was never to look rich for people who are not paying your bills. The goal is to build a life that does not collapse the moment nobody is impressed. The world will often reward the person who looks successful first, but life rewards the person who becomes free first. So before you upgrade your image, ask yourself one honest question. Am I buying a better life here? Or am I just buying a more expensive version of my own insecurity? If this video made you think about your own money habits, write one word in the comments: freedom. And if you want more honest stories about money, psychology, personal finance, and the road to real financial freedom, subscribe to Theo Finance. Because you do not need to look rich before you are free. You need to become free before looking rich ever matters at all.